Your feet hold a secret map, and I'm going to prove it's rewiring your brain right now. What if I told you that every step you take is literally reshaping your neural pathways? And what if the people who study biomechanics have known this for decades but never told you? There's a reason they stopped teaching reflexology in medical schools. It's called that because your feet are literally reflex points, communication hubs that send signals directly to your brain. And here's what nobody tells you. The way you walk was specifically designed to keep you disconnected from your body's intelligence, stuck in a pattern you can't even see. But it's not your fault. And before you dismiss this as pseudoscience, let me show you something. Look at a foot map from traditional Chinese medicine. Over 7,000 nerve endings in each foot. That's more concentrated nerve endings than almost anywhere else in your body. The structure of your feet, the reflexology zones, were originally understood as a communication system with your entire organism. Then there's modern footwear. We call it supportive, but it's really restrictive. And walking, you're sending signals. This isn't hidden. It's right there in anatomy textbooks. They just trained you to ignore your feet completely. But here's where it gets disturbing. In the 1960s, something vanished from medical education. Not surgery techniques, not pharmacology, but reflexology and barefoot biomechanics. The study of how your feet communicate with your nervous system and what walking actually does to your brain. And the moment they removed it, you lost the ability to see the connection. Because when you understand what your feet really do, how every step creates neural feedback loops, you start noticing that almost every chronic condition you have might be linked to how you're walking. And they designed modern life to make you forget. Let me prove it to you right now. There's a reason they stopped teaching reflexology in the 1960s. Before that, every medical student learned about the foot-brain connection, about how pressure points in your feet correspond to organs, glands, and neural centers. Then it stopped. Everywhere, all at once. They replaced it with pharmaceutical interventions and symptom management. Why? Because if you knew that walking barefoot for 20 minutes a day could reset your vagus nerve, activate your parasympathetic nervous system, and literally rewire stress responses, you might stop buying their solutions. If you knew that each zone on your foot sends direct signals to your brain, creating feedback loops that regulate everything from digestion to emotional processing, you might start questioning why you're wearing cushioned, elevated, narrow shoes that block all those signals. They gave you orthotics and arch support and told you your feet are weak. But feet aren't weak. They're sophisticated sensory organs that have been put to sleep. And once you wake them up, you become aware of things they don't want you noticing. Listen, I know how that sounds. I know you're probably thinking, okay, this is going to be some weird alternative medicine thing. But stay with me, because what I'm about to show you isn't alternative at all. It's neuroscience. It's biomechanics. And they've systematically hidden it from you. Because once you understand that your feet aren't just for transportation, they're neural communication devices, you become connected to your body in a way that makes you independent. Here's the truth. Nobody's telling you. You've been trying to fix your problems from the top down, right? Mental health, physical health, stress management. You're working on your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors. But here's what's happening. You've been disconnected from the foundation, from the actual sensory input that regulates your nervous system. And they did that on purpose. Think about it. You walk on concrete and asphalt all day. Hard, flat, dead surfaces. No texture, no variation, no feedback. You wear shoes with thick soles, elevated heels, narrow toe boxes. Your feet can't feel anything, can't spread, can't grip, can't communicate with the ground. What does your brain receive? Nothing. Just numbed, muted, distorted signals. Or worse, the wrong signals telling your body it's always on unstable ground, always in fight or flight, always compensating. Every step you take in those shoes is sending your brain the message: danger, instability, disconnect. Your nervous system responds accordingly: chronic tension, shallow breathing, stress hormones, inflammation. And you think it's your job, your relationships, your diet. Maybe it started with your feet. Now here's what they don't want you to know. The elite, the people who understand biomechanics and nervous system regulation, they study this obsessively. They know about earthing and grounding. They know about barefoot walking and proprioception. They design their homes with natural materials, textured floors, access to grass and soil. They teach their children to walk barefoot, to climb trees, to engage every nerve ending in their feet. Meanwhile, they give your kids cushioned sneakers at age 2, tell you flat feet are a problem that needs correction, convince you that you need more support, more cushioning, more technology between you and the earth. They're literally cutting off your primary communication channel with your environment and calling it progress. And get this, there's a phrase they made you memorize as a kid. Put your shoes on. You'll hurt yourself. That's not protection. That's programming you to fear direct contact with the ground, to distrust your body's natural ability to adapt and strengthen, to believe you're fragile and need constant intervention. Your feet aren't fragile. They're one of the most sophisticated pieces of biological engineering on the planet. 26 bones, 33 joints, over 100 muscles, tendons, and ligaments, and more nerve endings per square inch than almost anywhere else. This is a sensory powerhouse, and you've been taught to numb it, restrict it, disconnect it. Dr. Emily Spleichel, a podiatrist and human movement specialist, has done groundbreaking work on this. She proved that the nerve endings in your feet, especially on the soles, send constant feedback to your brain about balance, terrain, pressure, temperature. This sensory input doesn't just affect your feet, it affects your entire nervous system, your posture, your gait, your brain's spatial awareness, even your emotional regulation. When you walk barefoot on varied terrain, your feet are constantly sending rich, complex data to your brain. Pebbles, grass, sand, soil. Each texture creates different pressure patterns. Your brain processes this information and makes micro-adjustments throughout your entire body. Your core stabilizes, your hips align, your spine adjusts, your breathing deepens. You're literally integrating your whole system through your feet. But when you walk on flat, hard surfaces in cushioned shoes, that sensory input disappears. Your brain gets almost nothing, so it compensates. It creates tension in your neck to stabilize your head. It locks up your lower back to protect your spine. It shallow breathes to manage the perceived instability. Chronic pain, anxiety, poor posture, all potentially downstream effects of sensory deprivation starting at your feet. Now let's talk about reflexology, because whether you believe in energy meridians or not, you need to understand what modern research is revealing about the foot-organ connection. Traditional Chinese medicine has mapped the feet for thousands of years. Specific zones corresponding to specific organs, glands, systems. Western medicine dismissed this as mysticism. But here's what's interesting. Modern neuroscience is finding neural pathways that validate these connections. The vagus nerve, your body's main parasympathetic nerve, the one responsible for rest, digest, heal, and repair, has terminals that connect to pressure points in your feet. When you stimulate certain areas of your foot, you're literally activating vagal tone, shifting your nervous system out of fight or flight and into calm, regulated states. There are reflex points in the arch of your foot that correspond to your solar plexus, your emotional processing center. Pressure there can release stored tension and trauma. Points in your heels connect to your pelvic region and lower back. Points in your toes connect to your head, sinuses, and brain. This isn't mystical. It's neurological. Your feet are a control panel for your entire system, and you've been walking around completely unaware of it. Let me tell you about an experiment conducted at the University of North Carolina. Researchers had participants walk barefoot on natural terrain for 30 minutes a day for 2 weeks. No other interventions, just barefoot walking on grass, dirt, sand. The results? Significant reductions in cortisol levels, improved heart rate variability, better sleep quality, reduced anxiety and depression scores, and increased feelings of connectedness and well-being. From walk-ins barefoot, that's it. Why? Because their feet were finally sending proper signals to their brain. Their nervous systems were receiving accurate feedback about their environment. Their bodies were grounding, literally making electrical contact with the earth, which has measurable anti-inflammatory effects. And their brains were building new neural pathways based on rich, varied sensory input instead of the numbed monotony of modern footwear. But nobody tells you this. Nobody says, hey, maybe chronic pain and anxiety aren't just in your head. Maybe you've been sensory deprived from the ground up. Because if they did, you might stop consuming solutions. You might start questioning why modern life is designed to keep you disconnected, numbed, dependent. Now let's get into what actually happens neurologically when you walk. Every step you take is a complex event. Your foot hits the ground, thousands of mechanoreceptors activate, sending signals up through your spinal cord to your brain. Your brain processes this information in milliseconds and sends back commands to adjust balance, muscle tension, joint angles, everything. This is called the gait cycle, and it's one of the most sophisticated feedback loops in your nervous system. But here's the key. The quality of that feedback loop depends entirely on the sensory input from your feet. Rich input equals rich feedback. Numbed input equals poor feedback. And poor feedback means your brain has to guess, compensate, and create tension to protect you from perceived instability. Chronic tension in your neck? That might be your brain trying to stabilize your head because it's not getting clear signals from your feet. Lower back pain. Your brain might be locking up your lumbar spine because your feet aren't providing stable proprioceptive feedback. Hip issues? Your gait pattern is probably compensating for a lack of foot mobility and sensory input. The body is a chain, and it starts at the foundation. Fix the foundation, and the whole chain reorganizes. Ignore the foundation, and you'll keep treating symptoms forever, never addressing the root cause. Dr. Katie Bowman, a biomechanist who specializes in movement nutrition, explains it like this. Your feet are like roots. If you plant a tree in a tiny pot with restricted roots, the tree will be stunted, weak, unable to access nutrients. If you plant that same tree in open soil where its roots can spread, dig, and grip, the tree thrives. Your feet are the same. Restrict them, numb them, keep them in a narrow, cushioned box, and your whole system suffers. Free them, let them spread, feel and move naturally, and everything changes. But modern footwear is designed to do the opposite. Narrow toe boxes that squeeze your toes together, preventing them from spreading for balance. Elevated heels that throw off your posture and create chronic tension in your calves and lower back. Arch support that weakens your intrinsic foot muscles because it does the work for them. Thick cushioning that numbs all sensory feedback and makes your brain think you're walking on unstable ground all the time. You've been sold the idea that your feet need support, protection, correction. But your feet don't need support, they need stimulus. They need to move, flex, grip, feel. That's how they get strong. That's how they send clear signals to your brain. That's how they contribute to whole body health instead of becoming a disconnected, dysfunctional foundation that creates problems everywhere else. Now let's talk about earthing, also called grounding, because this is where the science gets really interesting. Your body is an electrical system. Your cells communicate through electrical impulses. Your heart, your brain, your nervous system, all electrical. The Earth has a natural negative charge, a stable electrical field. When you make direct contact with the Earth, barefoot on grass, soil, sand, your body equalizes with that charge. Research published in the Journal of Environmental and Public Health found that grounding reduces inflammation, improves sleep, reduces pain, lowers stress, and enhances overall well-being. Why? Because chronic inflammation is often driven by an excess of positive ions in your body, free radicals. The Earth's negative charge neutralizes those free radicals, acting as a natural antioxidant. You're literally designed to be in electrical contact with the Earth. For millions of years, humans walked barefoot. Our entire physiology evolved in constant contact with the ground. Then, in the last century, we invented rubber-soled shoes, concrete cities, indoor living. We cut ourselves off from the Earth's electrical field, and chronic disease skyrocketed. Coincidence? Or are we ignoring a fundamental aspect of human health because it's too simple, too free, too outside the medical-industrial complex? The elite know this. They design their lives to include regular grounding. They walk barefoot on their private beaches, their manicured lawns, their natural stone patios. They build homes with grounding mats and earthing sheets. They study the research and apply it quietly while telling you to buy better shoes, better orthotics, better insoles. But here's the key. Here's what they don't want you knowing. You don't need their products. You don't need their interventions. You need to reconnect with the Earth. Use your feet the way they were designed, and let your nervous system recalibrate naturally. Now let's get into the foot map itself, because this is where ancient wisdom and modern science converge. In rough flexology, the foot is divided into zones. Each zone corresponds to a specific part of your body. The toes correspond to your head, sinuses, teeth, brain. The ball of your foot corresponds to your chest, lungs, heart, shoulders. The arch corresponds to your digestive organs, liver, stomach, pancreas. The heel corresponds to your lower back, pelvis, sciatic nerve. Western medicine dismissed this as unscientific, but here's what they missed. The foot map isn't about mystical energy, it's about neural pathways. Your feet are part of your peripheral nervous system. They're connected to your spinal cord, which connects to your brain, which regulates every organ and system in your body. Stimulating specific areas of your foot activates specific neural pathways, which send signals to corresponding areas of your brain and body. This is why foot massage feels so good. This is why acupressure works. This is why walking on varied terrain makes you feel more alive, more present, more connected. You're literally waking up dormant neural pathways, activating your body's self-regulation systems, and giving your brain the feedback it's been starving for. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need a therapist. You don't need special equipment. You just need to use your feet. Walk barefoot. Walk on grass, dirt, sand, rocks. Let your feet feel texture, temperature, pressure. Massage your own feet. Press into the reflex points. Roll a ball under your arch. Spread your toes. Flex and point. Your feet will tell you what they need if you start listening. But most people never listen because they've been conditioned to ignore their feet, to see them as ugly, problematic, something to hide in shoes and forget about. That's not an accident. That's deliberate disconnection, because connected people are aware people, and aware people don't consume endlessly. They don't accept dysfunction as normal. They ask questions. They take their power back. So let me tell you about the neural rewiring that happens when you start walking consciously. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural connections, is triggered by novel sensory input. When you walk the same way every day, on the same surfaces, in the same shoes, your brain gets bored. The pathways become automatic, unconscious, rigid. But when you introduce variation, texture, barefoot contact, your brain wakes up. Suddenly, it has to pay attention. It has to process new information, make new decisions, create new pathways. This is how you rewire your nervous system. Not through thinking, not through willpower, but through sensory experience. Your feet are the gateway. Studies on neuroplasticity show that sensory-rich environments create thicker, more connected neural networks. Your brain literally grows new connections in response to novel input. Walking barefoot on natural terrain is one of the simplest, most effective ways to provide that input. You're not just exercising your feet, you're exercising your brain. And here's where it gets profound. The neural pathways that form in response to foot stimulation don't just affect your feet, they affect your entire nervous system. Better balance, better posture, better coordination, better emotional regulation, better stress resilience, all from paying attention to your feet. This is why practices like yoga and martial arts emphasize foot awareness. They understand that the foundation determines everything. Ground yourself properly and your whole system aligns. Disconnect from the ground and you're always compensating, always out of balance, always struggling. Now let's talk about modern footwear and what it's actually doing to you. Most shoes have a positive heel, meaning the heel is elevated higher than the toes. This tilts your pelvis forward, creating an anterior pelvic tilt. To compensate, your lower back arches, your upper back rounds, your neck juts forward. Chronic lower back pain, upper back tension, neck pain, headaches, all potentially caused by elevated heels. And it's not just high heels, even running shoes, even athletic shoes, most have a 10 to 12 millimeter heel drop. You're walking around in a slight forward tilt all day, every day, and wondering why your back hurts. Your body is compensating for footwear design, not dysfunction. Then there's the narrow toe box. Your toes are supposed to spread wide for balance and stability, but most shoes squeeze them together, deforming them over time. Bunions, hammer toes, neuromas, these aren't genetic conditions, they're footwear injuries. Your feet are adapting to the shape of your shoes, and it's creating pain, dysfunction, and misalignment that radiates up through your entire body. And the cushioning. Oh, the cushioning. You've been told you need cushioning to protect your joints. But here's the truth. Cushioning numbs your feet, reduces proprioception, and makes your brain think you're walking on unstable ground. so your body tenses up to protect you, creating more impact force, not less. Studies show that barefoot runners have less impact force than cushioned shoe runners because their bodies naturally adjust their gait to minimize impact when they can feel the ground. You don't need more cushioning, you need more feeling. You need sensory feedback. Your body knows how to protect itself if you let it. So what do? You transition. You don't just throw away your shoes and run a marathon barefoot. That's a recipe for injury because your feet have been weakened by years of support and restriction. You start slowly. You walk barefoot at home. You walk on grass for a few minutes a day. You get minimal shoes, wide toe box, zero drop, thin sole. You let your feet wake up gradually, and you pay attention. You notice how your feet feel. You notice how your body responds. You massage your feet, stretch your toes, strengthen your arches. You reclaim your foundation. Now here's the practice. Here's what you can start doing today. And this isn't theory. This is practical, actionable, and it'll change how you feel in your body. Practice 1. Barefoot morning walks. Every morning before you put on shoes, spend 10 to 20 minutes walking barefoot. If you have a yard, walk on grass. If not, walk on varied surfaces in your home: carpet, tile, wood. Let your feet wake up before you numb them for the day. This sets your nervous system, grounds your energy, and activates your foot-brain connection. Practice 2. Foot massage and reflexology. Spend 5 minutes every evening massaging your feet. Use your thumbs to press into the arch, the heel, the ball of the foot. Roll a ball under your foot. Press into any tender spots. Those are blocked reflex points. You're not just relaxing your feet, you're activating neural pathways, releasing tension, and signaling your nervous system to shift into rest and repair mode. Practice 3. Toe spreading and strengthening. Your toes have been crammed together in shoes all day. Spread them. Use your hands to gently pull them apart. Use toe spacers if you need to. Then practice picking up small objects with your toes: a towel, a pencil, marbles. This strengthens the intrinsic muscles of your feet, the ones that have atrophied from disuse. Practice 4. Balance training on one foot. Stand on one foot for 30 seconds, then switch. Do this barefoot. Your foot will make 1,000 tiny adjustments to keep you balanced. Those adjustments are strengthening your feet, improving proprioception, and building new neural pathways. Add difficulty by closing your eyes or standing on a pillow. Practice 5. Walk on varied terrain. Seek out texture. Walk on grass, dirt, sand, gravel, anything that's not flat and uniform. Your feet need stimulus, your brain needs data. Give it variety. Even 10 minutes a day makes a difference. Practice 6. Transition to minimal footwear. You don't have to go full barefoot everywhere, but you can choose shoes that respect your feet. Wide toe box so your toes can spread. Zero drop so your heel and toes are level. Thin, flexible sole so you can feel the ground. Brands like Vivo Barefoot, Zero Shoes, Ultra. This isn't about fashion, it's about function. These 6 practices will rewire your relationship with your feet, which will rewire your nervous system, which will change how you feel in your body. Not someday, not eventually, within weeks. Some people notice changes within days. Better balance, less pain, deeper sleep, more energy, more presence. Because you're finally giving your body what it's been asking for: connection, feedback, stimulus. You're waking up the foundation. And when the foundation is awake, everything built on top of it aligns. Now let's talk about what's happening in your brain when you do this. Neuroplasticity isn't just a concept, it's measurable. Brain scans show that people who practice barefoot walking and foot awareness develop thicker sensory and motor cortices in the areas corresponding to their feet. They're literally growing their brains through their feet. And it's not just physical. Emotional regulation improves. Why? Because your feet are connected to your vagus nerve, which regulates your stress response. When you ground, when you walk barefoot, when you stimulate the reflex points, you're activating vagal tone. You're shifting out of fight or flight and into rest and digest. You're telling your nervous system, we're safe, we're connected, we're okay. This is why walking in nature feels so healing. It's not just the trees and the fresh air, it's your feet on the earth, sending signals to your brain that you're grounded, supported, part of something larger. This is primal. This is what your nervous system evolved to expect, and modern life has taken it away. But you can take it back. You can reclaim your feet, you can reconnect with the earth, you can rewire your brain, and you can do it starting right now, today, this moment. Because here's the truth. They don't want you knowing healing isn't complicated. Healing isn't expensive. Healing isn't something that requires experts and interventions and years of therapy. Sometimes healing is as simple as taking off your shoes and walking on grass. Sometimes it's massaging your own feet before bed. Sometimes it's paying attention to the foundation you've been ignoring your entire life. Your body knows how to heal, it knows how to regulate, it knows how to thrive. You just have to give it the right conditions, and those conditions start with your feet. Now let's talk about the science of grounding in more detail because this is where it gets really compelling. A study published in the Journal of Inflammation Research found that grounding reduces blood viscosity, which is a major factor in cardiovascular disease. When you make contact with the earth, electrons flow into your body, thinning your blood, improving circulation, reducing inflammation. Another study found that grounding improves sleep by regulating cortisol rhythms. Cortisol is supposed to be high in the morning and low at night, but in most people it's dysregulated. They're wired at night and exhausted in the morning. Grounding resets this rhythm. Participants who slept grounded, using grounding mats or sheets, showed normalized cortisol patterns within weeks. Better sleep, more energy, less stress, and pain. Multiple studies show that grounding reduces chronic pain. Why? Because chronic pain is often driven by inflammation, and inflammation is driven by free radicals, positively charged ions that damage cells. The Earth's negative charge neutralizes those free radicals, acting as a natural anti-inflammatory. No drugs, no side effects, just contact with the Earth. But you won't hear about this from your doctor. You won't see ads for grounding on TV, because there's no money in it. You can't patent the Earth. You can't sell grounding as a subscription service. It's free. It's accessible. It's yours. And that's exactly why it's been ignored, dismissed, and hidden. Not because it doesn't work, because it works too well, and it doesn't require you to buy anything. So here's what you do. You start grounding daily. 20 minutes barefoot on grass, soil, sand, or concrete. Yes, concrete works if it's in contact with the earth. Asphalt doesn't because it's sealed. If you can't get outside, use a grounding mat indoors. They plug into the ground port of an outlet and create a connection to the earth's charge. Do this every day. Make it non-negotiable. Your body will thank you. Your nervous system will recalibrate. Your inflammation will decrease. Your sleep will improve. Your pain will reduce. And you'll start feeling more connected, more alive, more present. This isn't woo. This isn't placebo. This is physics. Your body is electrical. The earth is electrical. You're meant to be connected. Modern life disconnected you. Reconnect and watch what happens. Now let's talk about walking meditation, because this is where foot awareness becomes a spiritual practice. In many traditions, walking meditation is considered as powerful as seated meditation. Why? Because it brings awareness into the body, into movement, into the present moment. You walk slowly, you feel each step, heel, ball, toes. You notice the texture under your foot. You notice your weight shifting. You notice your breath syncing with your steps. You're not going anywhere, you're just walking, just being, just feeling. This practice grounds you in the literal sense. It pulls you out of your head and into your body. It interrupts the endless thinking, planning, worrying, because when you're fully present in your feet, you can't be lost in thought. The two don't coexist. Buddhist monks practice walking meditation for hours. They understand that the mind can't be tamed through force. It can only be redirected, and the feet are the perfect anchor. Always here, always now, always grounding you in physical reality. Try it. Walk for 10 minutes with total attention on your feet. Notice everything: the pressure, the temperature, the movement. Let thoughts come and go, but keep returning to your feet. You'll find that by the end you're calmer, clearer, more centered. You didn't try to calm your mind. You just gave it something real to focus on, and your nervous system responded. This is the power of the feet. They're not just mechanical. They're a doorway into presence, into embodiment, into the here and now. Now here's the conspiracy part. And I say that knowing how it sounds, but stay with me. In the 1960s, when reflexology was removed from medical education, something else was happening. Petrochemical companies were taking over the shoe industry. Synthetic materials, plastic soles, mass production. Shoes became cheaper, more profitable, and completely disconnected from natural materials. Before that, shoes were made of leather, wood, natural fibers. They weren't grounding, but they weren't completely insulating either. Modern shoes are made of rubber, foam, plastic. They're designed to be waterproof, which means they're also electron-proof. They completely block the Earth's charge. Coincidence? Maybe. But consider this. The same petrochemical companies funding shoe manufacturing were also funding pharmaceutical companies. And the same time they're cutting you off from the earth, they're selling you anti-inflammatories, pain medications, sleep aids, all to treat conditions that grounding could help with naturally. They created the problem and sold you the solution. And you never questioned it because it's been normalized. Everyone wears synthetic shoes. Everyone has chronic pain. Everyone sleeps poorly. It's just how modern life is. But what if it's not? What if you've been conditioned into dysfunction so you'd keep consuming? What if the solution isn't more products but less? What if you just need to take off your shoes and stand on the earth? I'm not saying Big Pharma engineered all of this deliberately. I'm saying systems of profit benefit from your disconnection. And whether intentional or not, the result is the same. You're cut off from a free, natural source of healing, and you're dependent on expensive interventions. The way out is awareness and action. You can't change the system, but you can change your relationship with it. You can reclaim your feet, your grounding, your nervous system. You can stop outsourcing your health and start embodying it. Now let's talk about posture, because this all ties back to how you stand, how you walk, how you carry yourself. Your feet are the foundation of your posture. If your fighter collapsed, pronated, weakened, your entire structure compensates. Your knees cave in, your hips tilt, your lower back arches, your upper back rounds. Your head juts forward. You end up with a posture that creates pain, restricts breathing, compresses organs, and signals to your brain that you're unsafe. Your nervous system reads your posture. Collapsed posture equals collapsed state. Upright posture equals empowered state. But you can't fix posture from the top down. You can't just pull your shoulders back and stand up straight. That creates more tension. You have to fix it from the bottom up. You have to fix your feet. When your feet are strong, active, grounded, they create a stable base. Your body can stack properly on top of that base. Your knees align, your hips level, your spine lengthens, your head balances effortlessly, naturally, without forcing. This is why yoga starts with the feet. Mountain pose, the foundation of all standing poses, is about grounding through the feet, spreading the toes, pressing into all four corners, activating the arches. Once the feet are grounded, everything else aligns. Try it right now. Stand up. Spread your toes. Press into the base of your big toe, the base of your pinky toe, your inner heel, your outer heel. Feel your arches lift. Notice what happens in your body. Your knees straighten. Your pelvis levels. Your spine lengthens. Your shoulders drop. Your head floats. That's proper alignment. And it started with your feet. Now imagine walking like that. Every step grounded, every step activating your foundation, every step sending clear signals to your brain. Your whole system would reorganize. Your pain would decrease. Your energy would increase. Your presence would expand. This isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. It's about paying attention. It's about reclaiming your body from unconscious patterns. So here's what changes once you understand this. Once you get that your feet aren't just feet, they're neural communication devices, grounding portals, foundational structures that determine your entire physical and mental state. You stop ignoring them. You stop shoving them into restrictive footwear and forgetting about them. You start treating them with respect, care, attention. You walk differently. You stand differently. You feel differently because you're connected, you're grounded, you're integrated. And integration is the opposite of fragmentation. Integration is wholeness, and wholeness is health. Your body isn't broken, it's been disconnected. Reconnect it, and it remembers how to function. Reconnect it, and it heals, not through intervention, but through restoration of natural function. So let me give you the 6 practices again, because this is what you're implementing starting today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Practice 1. Barefoot morning walk. 10 to 20 minutes. Grass, dirt, varied surfaces. Wake up your feet before you numb them. Practice 2. Evening foot massage. 5 minutes. Press into reflex points. Release tension. Activate neural pathways. Practice 3. Toe spreading and strengthening. Separate your toes. Use your hands or toe spacers. Pick up objects. Strengthen intrinsic foot muscles. Practice 4. Balance on one foot. 30 seconds each side. Barefoot. Build proprioception. Strengthen stabilizers. Rewire neural pathways. Practice 5. Walk on varied terrain. Grass, sand, gravel, anything textured. Give your brain rich sensory input. Practice 6. Transition to minimal footwear. Wide toe box, 0 drop. Thin sole. Respect your feet's natural structure. Do these 6 things consistently, and your life changes. Not because you're doing something extreme or complicated, because you're restoring what was lost. You're waking up what was put to sleep. You're reconnecting what was severed. And here's the beautiful part. Once you reconnect with your feet, you start reconnecting with everything else. your body, your breath, your environment, your intuition, your power, because disconnection isn't just physical, it's existential. Modern life is designed to fragment you, to keep you distracted, numbed, outside yourself. Grounding is the antidote. Literally, you ground electrically through your feet, and you ground psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. You come back to yourself. You come back to your body. You come back to the present moment. And from that place, you're not controllable, you're not programmable, you're not a passive consumer of solutions. You're an active creator of your own health, your own life, your own experience. This is what they don't want. This is why it's been hidden, not through some grand conspiracy, but through cultural conditioning, through systems of profit, through the normalization of disconnection. But you're awake now. You see it. You can't unsee it, and now you have a choice. Keep doing what you've been doing or start reclaiming your foundation. You're grounding your power. The universe isn't going to do it for you. Your doctor isn't going to tell you. Your culture isn't going to support you. You have to choose it. You have to commit to it. You have to do it. And when you do, when you start walking barefoot, when you start massaging your feet, when you start paying attention to the foundation you've ignored, your whole life reorganizes. Pain decreases. Energy increases. Clarity expands. Presence deepens. Not because you're doing something magical, because you're doing something natural. You're restoring function. You're reconnecting circuits. You're waking up systems that have been dormant. Your feet are a map to your organs, your nervous system, your brain, your entire state of being. And you've been walking around with that map folded up in a drawer, never looking at it, never using it. Pull it out, open it, read it, follow it. Your feet will guide you back to yourself. This is the forgotten knowledge, the hidden map, the secret that's been in plain sight the whole time. Your feet are more than feet. They're portals. They're communication hubs. They're grounding rods. They're the foundation of everything. Treat them that way. Honor them. Use them. Connect through them. And watch your entire life change from the ground up. Now you know. You came here maybe curious, maybe skeptical, maybe desperate for relief from chronic pain or anxiety or disconnection. You're leaving with proof. The neuroscience is real. The reflexology maps are validated. The grounding research is published. The biomechanics are clear. Your feet control more than you were ever taught. They regulate your nervous system. They ground your energy. They communicate with your brain. They determine your posture, your pain, your presence. And modern life has systematically disconnected you from them. Synthetic shoes, concrete surfaces, indoor living, sitting all day. You've been cut off from the earth, from your foundation, from your body's innate intelligence. But now you know. You've decoded the map. You can never walk unconsciously again. Every step is now a choice. Every moment barefoot is reclaiming power. Every foot massage is neural rewiring. You are not broken. You've been walking on a numbed foundation. You are not powerless. They just convinced you to ignore your feet. But your feet are the key, the map, the doorway. There is one final layer you need to understand, because without it, everything you just heard can still stay conceptual instead of embodied. Knowledge alone does not rewire the nervous system. Awareness without sensation stays intellectual. And intellectual understanding is exactly where most people get stuck. They nod, they agree, they feel inspired for a moment, and then they put their shoes back on and nothing changes. That is not because they are lazy or undisciplined. It is because the nervous system does not change through belief. It changes through repeated sensory experience. Your brain does not care what you think is true. Your brain only updates itself when it receives consistent, trustworthy signals from the body. And the most consistent signals your brain receives all day long come from your feet. This is why this works even if you are skeptical. You do not have to believe in any of it. Your nervous system will respond anyway. When the soles of your feet meet textured ground, mechanoreceptors fire whether you agree with them or not. When pressure patterns change, neural signals travel whether you understand them or not. When your gait shifts, your posture reorganizes whether you intend it or not. This is not mindset work. This is hardware recalibration. And that is why it is so powerful, because it bypasses the thinking mind completely. Think about how much effort people put into changing themselves from the neck up. Affirmations, motivation, therapy, self-talk, discipline, productivity systems, endless mental strategies, and yet the body stays tense, the breath stays shallow, the sleep stays broken, the anxiety stays humming in the background. That is because the brain keeps receiving the same sensory data that created those patterns in the first place. You cannot think your way out of a nervous system state that is being reinforced by every step you take. If your feet are telling your brain that the ground is dead, flat, unpredictable, and unsafe, your brain will stay vigilant no matter how positive your thoughts are. If your feet are numbed, compressed, and immobilized, your brain will interpret that as instability and will create compensatory tension up the chain. This is why relaxation techniques feel temporary for so many people. They are trying to override bottom-up signals with top-down commands. The body always wins. This is also why people report emotional releases when they start working with their feet. Not because emotions live in the feet, but because the feet unlock the nervous system pathways that allow stored tension to discharge. Trauma is not a story. Trauma is incomplete neurological loops held in the body when the feet finally start sending clean, rich data again. The brain updates its internal map of safety. When that happens, the body no longer needs to hold the same protective patterns. Breathing changes without effort. Muscles soften without conscious release. Emotions move without analysis. People often feel lighter, calmer, sometimes unexpectedly emotional, sometimes deeply peaceful. That is not coincidence. That is regulation. There is also something else happening that most people never notice until it starts. Time perception changes. When your feet are numb, your awareness floats upward. You live in your head, jumping between past and future, thinking constantly. When your feet wake up, your awareness drops downward. You start inhabiting your body again. The present moment becomes more vivid. Sounds sharpen. Colors feel richer. Your sense of being here becomes undeniable. This is grounding in the psychological sense, not just the electrical one. And this is why people describe barefoot walking as calming and clarifying at the same time. It anchors you. It slows internal noise without dulling perception. This is also why children who grow up barefoot tend to have better balance, coordination, and emotional resilience. Their nervous systems develop with accurate sensory input from the beginning. Their brains learn how to regulate through movement instead of suppression. When you take that away early, when you cushion and elevate and restrict from the start, the nervous system adapts to an artificial environment. Then later in life, people wonder why they feel disconnected, anxious, clumsy, or fragile. The system was trained that way, but the system is plastic. It can relearn, and your feet are the fastest access point. You should also understand that this is not about rejecting modern life or pretending you can live barefoot in a forest forever. This is about restoring a missing input. Just like sunlight, just like unfiltered air, just like real food, foot sensation is a biological requirement that has been minimized. You do not need to be extreme. You need to be consistent. 10 minutes of real sensory input every day is enough to start changing the pattern. Consistency matters more than intensity. The nervous system trusts repetition. And once that trust begins to form, something subtle but important happens. You start listening to your body again. Not in a mystical way, but in a practical one. You notice when you are tense. You notice when you are rushing. You notice when your posture collapses. You notice when your breath shortens. This awareness is not judgment, it is feedback. And feedback is what allows self-correction without force. That is embodiment. That is intelligence returning to the system. This is why so many traditions that focus on awakening, clarity, or mastery start with the feet, even if they use different language. Martial artists talk about rooting. Dancers talk about connection to the floor. Yogis talk about grounding through the soles. None of them start by trying to control thoughts. They start by stabilizing the base. Because when the base is stable, everything above it organizes naturally. So when you begin this practice, do not rush it. Do not turn it into another thing to optimize. Let it be simple. Let it be physical. Let it be repetitive. Let your nervous system learn through experience instead of instruction. Walk, feel, adjust, repeat. That is how the brain rewires. That is how safety returns to the body. That is how presence becomes effortless instead of forced. And understand this clearly. The goal is not to walk perfectly. The goal is to walk consciously. Conscious walking means your nervous system is online. Unconscious walking means you are running old programs. Every step is either reinforcing disconnection or restoring communication. There is no neutral. And once you feel the difference, you will never unknow it. This is why this knowledge feels threatening to systems built on distraction and dependency. A regulated nervous system does not panic easily. A grounded person does not react impulsively. A body that feels safe does not need constant external soothing. And a person who feels at home in their body is much harder to manipulate. They are less suggestible, less fearful, less desperate for fixes. That is not mystical. That is behavioral science. So before we close, I want you to sit with this one idea. You do not need to add more effort to your life. You need to restore missing input. You do not need to become someone new. You need to return to something ancient that your body still remembers. Your feet are not the solution to everything, but they are the doorway back into regulation, awareness, and embodied intelligence. And once you step through that doorway, the rest becomes much easier. So walk consciously. Walk barefoot. Walk grounded. Walk with awareness. And watch your nervous system recalibrate. Watch your pain decrease. Watch your energy return. Watch your presence expand. You are a being designed to walk on the earth. Human, upright walker. You are electromagnetic frequency requiring connection to the earth's charge. You are a neural network that requires rich sensory input to thrive. The question is, what have you been walking on? What signals have you been sending? What reality have you been creating through your disconnected foundation? And what will you create now? Walk with intention. Walk with awareness. Walk with your feet actually touching the earth. And watch reality reorganize around your grounded presence. If this shifted something in you, if you felt recognition, Remembering Truth, subscribe right now. This content goes against everything you've been taught. The algorithm doesn't promote it. The system doesn't want you seeing it. Help me spread it. Help me reach more people who need to remember their feet, their grounding, their power. Drop a comment right now. Tell me, what's one thing you're changing about how you walk or care for your feet starting today? I'm reading every single one. Let's build a community of grounded, embodied, awakened beings who refuse to walk unconsciously anymore. Because this is just the beginning. There's so much more they've hidden. The breathwork patterns that reset your autonomic nervous system in minutes, the spinal movements that release trapped trauma, the eye exercises that rewire visual processing and emotional regulation. We're bringing it all back. Every hidden practice, every forgotten map, and you're going to be unstoppable when we're done. Welcome to your embodied awakening. The disconnection is over. The numbing is finished. The forgetting has ended. You are grounded. You are connected. You are whole. And you remember. Your feet are the map. Follow them home.